Right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this readout of the college meeting, which will be immediately followed by statements from Vice President Dombrovskis, Commissioners Gentiloni and Schmidt on the European semester, after which we'll be happy to take your questions on issues that were raised in college or on the European semester itself. Executive Vice President.
Good afternoon, everybody. Today, together with Commissioners Gentiloni and Schmidt, we presented a package launching a new cycle of European semester exercise. So I will come back to this in a minute following the college readout. So on other items in college agenda today, Vice President Šuica introduced the orientation debate on the conference on the future of Europe, on which preparation will follow two parallel strands. One strand focusing on interinstitutional debates with the Commission acting as an honest broker between the European Parliament and the Council, and the second strand looking at securing broader outreach and aiming at to establish a debate with citizens structured around the 6 Commission priorities and the Council strategic agenda. Then the head of the Task Force for Relations with the United Kingdom, Michel Barnier, updated the College on the next steps as regards the withdrawal of the UK from the Union following the UK general elections of 12th of December and the European Council meeting of 13th of December. The College also took note on the agreement between the European Parliament and the Council on the mobility package following last week's trilogue, and the Commission issued a declaration regretting that the political agreement reached by the Council and Parliament includes elements that are not in line with the ambitions of the European Green Deal. These are the compulsory return of the vehicle to the member state of establishment every 8 weeks and restrictions imposed on combined transport operations. These measures were not part of the original Commission's proposal, were not subject to the impact assessment. The obligation of return of the track will lead to inefficiencies in the transport system and the increase of unnecessary emissions, pollution and congestion, while the restriction on combined transport diminishes its effectiveness to support multimodal freight operations. So the Commission will now closely assess the climate, environmental and single market functioning impact of those two aspects. After impact assessment, the Commission, if necessary, will exercise its right to come forward with a targeted legislative proposal before the two provisions enter into force. Then, moving back to the European semester, today's package sets out our economic policy priorities for the coming year. So, before presenting the main features of our annual sustainable growth strategy, allow me to give some context. The European economy is now in the 7th year of consecutive growth. Employment is at record high. 17.4 million jobs have been created in the EU since the start of 2013. Public finances have improved with an aggregate deficit of 0.7% of GDP in 2018, down from 2.5% of GDP in 2014, and the debt to GDP ratio in the euro area fall from the peak of 95.2% in 2014 to 87.9% in 2018. No member state currently has an excessive deficit, though Romanian developments in Romania suggest that this may not last. We must remain competitive and do so in a way that is sustainable and fair. Our economy must work for the people and for the planet. Our economic strategy must be fully in step with the European Green Deal that the Commission presented last week, and at the same time we cannot ignore global uncertainty and geopolitical risks at the horizon. Three profound shifts will define the decades to come: climate change, technological progress and digitalization, and demographical change. We must face these challenges head-on and act decisively and with the right reforms. Four guiding principles will underpin our strategy: stability, fairness, productivity, and sustainability. Let me begin with economic stability, which is a precondition for economic growth and transformation. Fiscal policies need to be responsible and appropriately differentiated, leading to sound and sustainable public finances in line with the commonly agreed rules. Differentiated fiscal policies means that countries which have fiscal space are invited to continue using it now, but those with high debt levels should bring it down. Debt matters. Bringing debt down builds confidence in the economy and makes countries more shock-proof. It drives down borrowing costs, which means there is more funding for public investment. Speaking of EU fiscal rules, in January we will present the review of six-pack and two-pack legislation to see how the rules have worked. I predict a lively debate around EU fiscal rules. So we have to exercise caution. We will need to see whether a consensus emerges from that debate. A word on European Economic and Monetary Union and our single currency. The latest Eurobarometer survey shows the highest support for the euro since its introduction in 2002. 76% of correspondents think the single currency is good for the EU, and there is high support for greater coordination on policy. We now need to complete our economic and monetary union to ensure that we have all the economic tools we need to face storms on the horizon. The euro is a symbol of Europe's unity and global strengths. A stronger EMU will help to reinforce the international role of the euro and increase European clout on global markets. Second principle we need to focus on is to make our economies more productive by embracing technology and digitalization. We need to change outdated economic structure so we can become a global leader in an increasingly digitalized world and harness great creative potential what Europe has. So we invite EU countries to step up their reform efforts, and Paolo will go into more detail regarding the situation of macroeconomic imbalances. The third pillar is sustainability. Climate change is the biggest challenge we face today. The transition to climate neutrality will require major investment. With a strong focus on environmental sustainability, the European semester is reinforced as an encompassing tool for economic and social policy making. Paolo will tell you more about integrating the sustainable development goals in the European semester. We are also working together on a Sustainable Europe investment plan, which will provide dedicated financing for sustainable investments in every part of the EU. But none of this can happen without Europe having a shared understanding of what green economic activity is. So I welcome the breakthrough between EU co-legislators last night on vital legislation to create a green list or taxonomy of sustainable economic activities. This piece of legislation is crucial for the Green Deal to become a reality. It will enable green investments to flow, reach scale, and help Europe reach climate neutrality by 2050. The European Parliament and Member States should now formally endorse this agreement. The Commission stands ready to work swiftly on getting the first list of climate mitigation and adaptation activities as soon as possible. The fourth principle in our economic strategy is fairness. Be it green or digital, we need to put people at the heart of the transitions. So no person and no region should be left behind. There is a big upside because if managed well, the green and digital transitions can create many jobs and a healthier working and living environment. These transitions can actually help to deliver on the social pillar and put Europe as a competitive advantage in comparison to other regions in the world. Nicola will tell you more on this. One last word on our single market report, which is a novelty. The single market has a crucial role to play in our growth strategy, so this report assesses its performance and areas where more progress is necessary, such as services and public procurement. Thank you, and now I give the word to Paolo Gentiloni, please.
Thank you.